Rubrics a little bit. I found out my first semester that I had a lot of students. It was my very first semester, and I tried to do everything individually, no rubrics. It was really, really difficult. So what I did the next semester, I had lots of the next semester. Even I didn't even have that many students. Is I created a rubric for everything that you could possibly create a rubric for. And the reason I did this is because it was really easy. I'll grade one in a second so I can show you. And I just like open it up and I can grade it really, really easily. So, um, for example, here, let's look at this one. This is a rubric I made for a project that they had. Let me see if there's a way to preview it. I thought there was. Here, let me. This is where you'll create them. So what I do is I have something that's similar. I'll like edit it or whatever. Here's a preview. I'll edit it or I'll make a copy of it, and then I've got it, already kind of set up the way I want it. So this is, for example, the rubric for this one. And so, it's just complete and accurate, mostly complete, partially complete. Some of it's really detailed, some of them are not. Like this is, it needs to have these specific things. And so I can just be like, bing, 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 all the way down. And then if there's nothing there, that means, it's included or it's not. It's included or it's not. And so, and usually I'll do all sources or no sources because, how am I supposed to tell if they included all their sources? If they list some sources, then, I have to think that that's all of them because, I don't know exactly where they went. So that's kind of how I do the projects. To me, I've found it very helpful. Let me show you the discussion rubric, just because I've seen a lot of discussion rubrics. Each course I teach has a different one, and in biology, I taught that this summer. It really had an excellent rubric. And some of them make it more difficult on my side. Like there's one where it wanted every kid had to, there was a section where it said responds to questions that were asked of them. Well, if nobody asked the kid any questions, then they can't respond to any questions that are asked them. So then I felt like I was spending the whole time trying to like make sure I like really quickly, especially on Wednesday nights, like was always checking to make sure if a kid made a post that I could quickly ask them a question. That way they could respond to my question. That way they could get points for the part that said response to questions. So I felt like that was a little much on my part and also hard for the students because then they, especially if they made their post Wednesday night, which I know they should do it earlier, but let's be real. I felt like I was, then they're having to check back over and over. And I had like one student whose mom was like, she made her post at 9 and you didn't reply back till like 10:30. And, she had already gone to bed and blah, blah, blah. And, I get the mom's point. But anyway, just to avoid stuff like that, I read once, if you punish your kids and the punishment is more difficult, harder on you than on them, then, maybe it's not a very good punishment. So it's not that this is a punishment, but it kind of, the same concept's the same. So this responds to classmates, whatever. And then I'll show you how I have it set up. Well, you can see it in the discussion video, where if you look at it, it already has some things built in. And so that's what I try and do with a lot of the rubrics is I try and have some things already built in. And so if they don't do well on it or whatever, it already has some of the maybe feedback that I might leave them. So let's look at this one. I don't even remember if this is a good one. So let me see. I'm trying to make the feedback bigger so you can see it. Okay, so this is this picture, this part is like the automatic feedback I just leave for everyone, regardless of their grade. And then this is from the rubric. So the kid didn't include any data, and so it automatically said no data is included, but they did answer the questions perfectly. So it was like excellent, excellent. And so when you go in the rubric, you can see it's really easy to just like, I can bring up their submission over here. And I can bring up the rubric right here, and I can kind of, go back and forth and grade them. And so it's pretty easy. And then if there's any feedback I want to leave them, I can do that. I could just edit it and add that, and then I'll save it in that Evernote or that OneNote notebook. That way, if somebody else doesn't include their data, I can just copy and paste that. So it's and then you just hit save and record, and it automatically puts that in there. I didn't hit that this time because I didn't want it to show up twice on her thing. But so it's pretty easy. So that's how I can grade things very, very quickly, which helps me with my, assignments, is helps me be a little more efficient.